Ambassador of Venezuela to Nigeria, David Caraballo, says President Nicolas Maduro will use his position at the United Nations Human Rights Council to fight global human rights abuses. On October 17, Venezuela and Brazil won the seat to represent Latin America at the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva following elections on the floor of the United Nations General Assembly. According to Caraballo, the victory for Venezuela is coming at the right time when the country is facing an illegal economic coercive measure and total economic blockade from the U.S.
First of all, we like to express our gratitude with all the countries to support the Venezuelan candidates. In this election, it's important. This victory in the Human Rights Council is a victory of the Bolivarian diplomacy, the peace diplomacy, is a victory of the multilateralism, is a victory of the necessities of the different countries to preserve his independence, his sovereignty, and is the signal for all the countries in the world about this moment. We hope with these elections play a very important role in the region, with the Latin American countries, with the African countries, with all the continents, to promote the real defense of the human rights. For this position, the Human Rights Council is preserve and defend the economic rights in the different countries and denounce the impact of all unilateral coercive measures, the economic blockades. When Venezuela have 5 years under this economic blockade and financial persecution, but Cuba have more than 60 years. You can see the situation in some countries. The trade war promote from the Trump administration against China, or the sanctions promote from the coercive measure in the economic area promote from some European countries and the United States against Russia. It's not only these actions are not only against the small countries. It's a crazy policy promoted for the Trump administration against different countries in the world.
Caraballo said that in support of the Bolivarian relations, Venezuela would use its position in the United Nations Human Rights Council to defend countries like Bolivia, currently facing similar political attack from the U.S. against injustice. He explained that contrary to reports of human rights abuses against President Nicolas Maduro, he had created policies and structures that had helped to alleviate the plight of Venezuelans. The envoy said Maduro was also working to solve the internal problems of the country, noting that in September a national dialogue board was established.
We are working to solve our internal problems, to solve our necessities. We are promoting, at least 1 month ago, we established the National Dialogue Board with the different parties, or some opposition parties in the countries, in our country, to establish some agreements to continue through the dialogue process to solve the internal situation in Venezuela and to look the different actions together, all the Venezuelans, to reestablish our economic capacities. We are working with China, with Russia, with India, with some African countries. We are working with the Latin American and Caribbean countries. This crisis, promote for the financial blockade and economic blockade, create the opportunity to increase our own capacities, to establish the different mechanisms to the financial relation with the other countries in the world,